As part of leadership series, today we'll be talking on principles of conflict resolution. So let's talk about the hard stuff. Inevitably, you will have conflicts within your team, among the team members, maybe one of your team members and you, or maybe you and another manager. It is just inevitable, even if you do everything really, really well. That we have discussed, and I hope you can see that all the listening skills, the empathy statement, and the reflective listening, all of that stuff leads to effective conflict resolution. And if you facilitate your team well, you engage them well, they are less likely. Doesn't mean that they never will, but they are less likely to have conflicts within the team. But let's think about getting good at resolving conflicts when they do occur, because I think it is almost inevitable that you will have conflicts. In this lecture, I would like to talk about some principles of conflict resolution, and these are the good for you to think about as you confront a conflict and deal with a conflict. These principles may also be useful for you to share with those who are in conflict, so you can think about how to use them in different ways. Uh, I want to talk about the nature of the conversation, the culture of conversation, dialogues, and debates among your team members, and how you can seek to create an effective culture where people really listen to each other, and that again is likely to reduce or resolve conflicts. So here are some principles. Here are 9 principles that make sense to me. I hope they make sense to you also. First of all, it is really useful to understand that from wherever people are in their perspectives, whatever like their position is, they are right. Yes, everybody is right. I know that sort of sound absurd, but given their life experience, given their experience in the workplace, given what matters to them, given what they have learned, what have paid off for them in the past, right? What have gotten reinforced in the past, given all the history, their position is correct. Now the other person and the other person may be you, but the other person is also correct given their glasses that they are looking through, which is their life experience and the learning that they have gone through. So, the key to conflict resolution is not to decide who is right and wrong. You have to get out of what mentality of being a reference referee and saying he's out and he's not out. No, that's not the game of conflict resolution. The game of conflict resolution is to understand that everybody is right given their background and to help each party, which may be you and the other person, understand the other person, listen to the other person, have empathy for the other person, and then try to reach a mutually agreeable solution, which will only come if you first have the that empathy, if you first have that understanding between the two parties. So first keep in mind that everybody is right given their history. Avoid false dichotomy. What are the false dichotomies? A dichotomy is a black and white, left and right, and liberal and conservative in our political worlds, right? And we have a bad habit of approaching a conflict or a problem that and taking a left or right, black or white position, which is often false because often the truth is something combination of ideas that is not necessarily left or right, liberal or conservative, whatever the dichotomy is. So watch when you see a conflict, think about whether or not the two parties are falling into false dichotomies Often, when you hear a conflict, somebody has a conflict with you, it is very often the case that their presenting position is not the real problem. They are presenting what they are able to articulate. They are presenting what they feel. But your job as a resolver, a mediator, or facilitator, your job is to go below the presenting position to understand what the real concern is. And that requires your listening skills, your empathy, reflecting, and all those things that you know how to do well. When people have a conflict, their immediate in and it's sort of animal impulse. It is our lower nature. Our impulse is to prove that I am right and you are wrong. We want to win. We have been brought up seeking to win and not to be a loser, right? I do not want to be a loser. I want to be a winner. So we dig in and go into argument. You are wrong because I am right. Because don't dig in, don't allow people to dig in, help them understand, and you try to understand what their viewpoint is there, what their position is, and help them to understand the other person's viewpoint and position and do not engage in arguments. Listen for the sound of argument and try to change that conversation to what we will talk about later in dialogue rather than debate where we are actually listening and learning from each other rather than trying to win an argument. Don't use exaggerated statements. Who is the worst at it at this is spouses, husbands, and wives. And you never pick up your socks. You never clean the bathroom. Yes, I did. Last October, I cleaned the bathroom. We tend to try to win an argument or make our point by using escalated, exaggerated statements. Well, do those help resolve the conflict? No, they actually create more conflicts because then the other person becomes defensive and the other person says you are wrong and in fact you never. I always, whenever somebody says always or never in a conflict situation, they are wrong. Oh, okay, cause always and never are never correct. If that makes sense. When you hear that, try to say never. He never does that. John, is that right? Do you never do that? He says, yeah, it is only on Thursday I do not do it or whatever. So avoid exaggerated statements when you are trying to mediate or resolve a conflict. You are trying to be a unifier, and what you want to do is seek points of unity, and the points of unity are larger purpose. Look, guys, what we are both really trying to accomplish, what is our unified purpose. It is a little bit like we have an election here in the United States, and you had very polarized positions, and there are a lot of you never and I always, that those kind of dichotomous statements and positions. But once that's over, you step back and you say, wait a minute, what is our common purpose? What is our common objective? What we can be unified around. And inevitably, there are things that we can and we should be unified around. And we come together on those things. And that's true in the workplace too. If you two teams members are in conflict, hey guys, let's back up and say, what is our real purpose here? What are the what are we both trying to achieve? As a team member, we are both trying to achieve doing well for our customer. Isn't that right? That's right. It should be right. That should be right. And let's talk about how we can, given a situation that we are in conflict over, let's talk about what would best serve the customer. Let's come together on that. And out of that unifying process, a solution very often comes. Focus on where we are going, not where we have been, and where we are going in the is the common purpose. We can spend a lot of time in argument about who did it, when did it, why did it, all in the past, and almost none of those is going to solve the problem. What is going to solve the problem is talking about future, talking about where we are going and what we need to do in the future. Remember what Dr. Demang said, that 90%, 5% of the problems are in the process, not the person. We tend to blame the person, not fix the process. So, as you are listening to a conflict, ask yourself in problem really here the person, or in the problem the process. The process of work, the process we are engaged in, and if you think about that and you can help them, the two parties think about, let's not focus on the person. Let's think about the process. Let's think about how to improve how we do things. And this isn't a problem in the future. Hope that makes sense. Look for win-win wins. You want to come out of any conflict situation with mutual benefit and mutual gain for both the parties. It's never a good conflict resolution to say, John, you are the winner, and Sam, you are the loser. You know, no cause that will come back inevitably. Think about how both parties, how the team can be a winner in whatever the situation is. I hope those nine principles make sense to you. Let's go on and just look at sort of more specific process to go through when resolving conflicts.